Hey guys, okay, let's go on to 10.2 for today, Thursday's lesson. Today we're going to be talking about radical exponents. So if we have, for example, oh no, my marker's no longer working. This is bad. We may not be doing a video. There we go. If we have 4 to the 1/2, how can you write that in simplified form? So 4 to the 1/2 is actually, you're going to look at what your bottom number here is, and that's a 2. So it's actually going to be the square root of 4, which is 2. Okay? So another example, how about 64 to the 1/3? Let's look at that one. 64 to the 1/3. So our bottom number is a 3. So we are going to take the cube root of 64, which is 4. 4 times 4 times 4, 64. Okay, another example, how about x to the 1/4? If we have x to the 1/4, that can be simplified as x to the 4th root. How about 0 to the 1/6? 0 to the 1/6, just 0. Negative 9 to the 1/2. Let's come back up here. So if we have negative 9 to the 1/2, a couple things to look at. The negative sign here is not in parentheses with this 9. So we're going to take the square root of 9, which is the negative square root of 9, because it's out here in front. And then that is just 3. Bring the negative side down. All right. How about 81x to the 8th to the 1/4? Good grief. Okay. 81x to the 8th. And then we're going to take that whole thing to the 1/4. So to simplify this, just go one step at a time. All right. So we have the 4th root of 81 x to the 8th. All right. So we can simplify that some by saying, well, what's the 4th root of 81? That is going to be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 9, 27, 81. So and how about the 4th root of 8? Okay, so we're going to say 3x squared for this. All right, it simplifies to 3x squared. Next example is 5y to the 1/3. 5y to the 1/3. All right. Again, one step at a time. This 1/3 is only pertaining to the y and not the 5 because there are no parentheses here. So you're going to have the cube root of y. Your 5 is going to go out here because it's not attached here. There's no parentheses around the 5y together to make us put the 5 under the square root sign. Okay, so on page 605 in your book, that's where I am right now. Please press pause on the video and try practice 1, which will go A through G. Okay, for the first one, on practice 1, again, I'm on page 605. For A, which was 36, we have 36 to the 1/2. You should have written the square root of 36, which is 6. B, we have 1,000 to the 1/3, which is the cube root of 1,000, which is just 10. Okay? For C, C, we have x to the 1/3, which can just be written as the cube root of x. That's it. That's as much as you can simplify that one. For D, we have 1 to the 1/4. Okay, so you're going to rewrite it as the 4th root of 1, which is just 1. E, we have negative 64 to the 1/2, written this way. Negative 64 to the 1/2. Okay, so our negative sign's going to stay out here because it's to the 1/2. We go with the square root of 64, which is 8. Our negative sign just continues to follow it out here to the front. Okay, F. All right, F, we have 125x to the 9. 125x to the 9th. This whole thing to the 1/3. So again, go one step at a time. We're going to take the cube root of everything in parentheses. 125x to the 9th. Okay, so let's simplify it down now. So the cube root of 125 is 5. The cube root of x to the 9th is just going to be x to the 3rd. So 5x to the 3rd, and that is your final answer. All right, let's look at G. We have 5y to the 1/3. 5y to the 1/3. This is like the example we just did. The 5 is not in parentheses. Oh, kidding. This is not it. I was looking at the wrong G. No wonder it looks the same. We have, let me erase that. We have 3x to the 1/4. 3x to the 1/4. Okay, so, and this is like that example. So the 3x is not in parentheses. So you're just going to go one step at a time. The 3 stays on the outside. We take the 4th root of x. Okay, great. Let's move on. Okay, objective 2. Go ahead and turn the page to page 606. Let's look at example 2 here. Okay, so our first one is 4 to the 3/2. So how do you do this? Again, we're going to take it one step at a time. What's underneath here still means we're going to take this to the square root. So we're going to say the square root of 4. Now the next thing that you do is put this whole thing in parentheses and take it to the 3rd power. So solving this one at a time, what is the square root of 4? That is 2. What's 2 to the 3rd power? That's 8. So your answer there would be 8. So how about example 2, part B? We have negative 16 to the 3/4. Okay, so one step at a time. The negative is not in parentheses, so it's going to stay here on the outside. And we're going to have the 4th root of 16, and we're going to take the whole thing to the 3rd power. All right, so what is the 4th root of 16? Well, that's 2. So our negative is just going to carry on over here. So we have negative 2 to the 3rd power. What's 2 to the 3rd? That's 8. And our negative sign just stays in front. So negative 8 this time. All right, how about C? We have negative 27 in parentheses. The whole thing's in parentheses. So negative 27 to the 2/3. Okay. Again, one step at a time. We're going to take everything in parentheses to the cube root. So we have negative 27 here. Then we take the entire thing to the second power. Okay? So what is the cube root of negative 27? And since this is an odd number, we can have a negative sign here underneath your root sign. So negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. So this is negative 3. Now we're going to take the whole thing to the second power, square it. So what do we get? 9. Okay. D says 1/9, everything in parentheses, 1/9 to the 3/2, to the 3/2 power. Okay. So we have a 2 on the bottom here, so we're going to take the square root of 1/9. We're going to take that whole thing to the third power. So what is the square root of 1/9? This is the same as writing the square root of 1 over the square root of 9, right? Okay, so the square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 9 is 3. So 1/3 to the third power. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 cubed is 27. So your answer is 1/27. All right, and in example E, we have 4x minus 1 to the 3/5. Okay, so again, just rewriting it, going one step at a time. We're going to be taking to the 5th root here. Everything goes underneath, and the whole thing will be taken to the third power. All right, so that's it for practice 2. So go ahead, please, or for example 2, go ahead, please, and press pause and try practice 2. Okay, 12 minutes. All right, so let's put up the answers here for practice 2. The first one we have 16 to the 3/2. So you're going to rewrite that, looking at your bottom part. The square root of 16 to the third. What is the square root of 16? Well, that's 4. So we have 4 to the third. 4 times 4 is 16 times 3. 64. Okay, next we have -1 to the 3/5. -1, which is not in parentheses, to the 3/5. So you can actually save yourself a lot of time here. The negative sign is not in the parentheses, and it's a 1. 1, anything is just 1, and this is -1 because the negative is not included in the parentheses sign. Okay, so C, we have -81, negative sign out in front to the 3/4. Okay, first rewrite it, keep your negative sign out in front. We're going to take the 4th root of 81, and then we are going to cube it. Okay, so what is the 4th root of 81? That is 3. So the 4th root of 81 is 3. And then you're going to cube it. So 3 cubed then is 27. Okay, moving on. Oh, and there's a negative sign out in front, so you need to bring that over. Okay, moving on, we have 1/25. And that's in parentheses to the 3/2. Okay, so look what's on bottom first. We're going to put everything underneath the square root sign and then take it all to the third. So this can be rewritten as the square root of 1 over the square root of 25. We're going to take the whole thing to the third. What is the square root of 1? That's 1. How about 25? is 5. Take the whole thing to the third power. 1 to the third is just 1. 5 to the third is 125. So you have a 1 over 125. And our last one is e 3x plus 2. 3x plus 2 to the 5/9. Wow. Okay, so rewrite. Start here with your 9th root. We're going to have the 9th root of 3x plus 2. And then everything's going to, oh, that's a 5. Everything's going to be taken to the 5th power. Okay? All right. Here's part 1. I'm going to put part 2 in a different video so it uploads faster.